Do you have a story to share with the world? Of course you do. We all have stories to share. An Anchor podcast allows you to share your interests in a way that connects to others all across the globe. If you have been considering starting your own podcast and don't know where to begin, Anchor makes it easy to record, edit, and publish with the click of a button. You can even add music. Whether it's crime dramas, self-improvement, paranormal adventures, or tips about parenting, you too can share your unique imprint on the world. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. You've got this. I believe in you. Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tools and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. I have a special guest here with me today. Her name is Ashlie Eborn, and Ashlie is a good friend of mine. We actually met several years ago when we were both dabbling in energy medicine and learning how to tap into our own energetic fields. And Ashlie recently has gone down the certification path into learning more about Feng Shui. And we are here today to talk about a variety of topics pertaining to Feng Shui, removing clutter in our lives, energy cleansing our space, as well as how many of us light workers are being guided to move in other locations and other directions. So Ashlie, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm so good, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me. It's always such a treat to talk to you.
Yes, and I'm so excited because we weren't really sure the direction of where we were going to go with this episode, but we both were very guided to talk about how many of us across the planet, lightworkers, are being moved around. We are being shifted in other directions. And me personally, about 4-ish years ago, I was very strongly guided to move from Florida, where I had lived for 20 years, all the way across the country to, firstly, I ended up in Washington State, and now I'm in Northern Idaho. Recently, Ashlie has gone through that transition as well. You want to share that a little bit with us, Ashlie?
Absolutely. So we kind of flip-flop there. I was born and raised in Idaho. Me and my husband and my family lived in Boise for a really long time. Brent and I have been there both almost 20 years. And last year, I really kept harping on, like, we gotta do something, because I'm like, the energy is not right here. I'm not happy. And that's really odd for me, because I love Idaho. I've loved, being on the eastern side and on the western side. It was my home. And so to think that we had to move somewhere was just kind of like out of the blue, right? And so eventually we were drawn to South Carolina, which is a really beautiful state. And now that I'm here for, I don't know, I think we've been here about 8 months, I can totally understand why I need something more grounding. And just looking out my back window, I've just got a whole forest of trees back behind me being my grounding board, so it's been wild and crazy, but also really kind of rewarding in a really sweet way, where, the whole idea that the universe is leading you to where you need to be. And so that's kind of been my comforting, like, hot thought. And, those times where I'm like, was this the right idea? I'm sure you felt it.
I did. I did. And I don't know if you noticed when you moved, did you feel physical differences in your body? I know for me, going from Florida, being very low altitude, to all the way up into the mountains of Northern Idaho and Washington State, my body, and then I went from very warm weather to very cold weather, because I had moved in November and my body got very restricted. I felt like, all right, I finally took the quantum leap, or the quantum jump, to move and follow my heart's desires of wanting to live somewhere with more nature. I think you and I both were guided to that. We were feeling that need to be around more trees and mountains, for me specifically. And then I finally take that leap. And then the first 4 months that I am here, I am in absolute back pain. Like my pain was so tremendous but I think personally for me, I was working through that shift in timeline. I had gone from living in Florida to living in Washington, and I shifted timelines, not only physically, but energetically as well. And I went through the having to process a lot of the emotions around, I moved across the country alone, with me and my cats, so it was pretty significant for me. So did you notice any energetic or physical changes in you when you did take the leap to move?
Absolutely. It was really weird because my family went through this whole slew of like skin irritations, and everything has a meaning, right? Everything has a root cause, and something that I haven't dabbled into yet because it's been so interesting, but definitely beginning of this year especially, that's where I had like my kind of Jesus moment where it was just my whole body was just like, sister, you just better stay put in bed and don't do anything. And so luckily and thankfully I listened, because I think that was a huge shift for me. And I mean, the shifts keep going, right?
They do. And I think with us, when you start working in energy, we work so hard at cleansing our energy and getting it into an alignment that our physical body is a little denser and it takes a little bit longer for it to catch up. So oftentimes when we're going through these shifts, we will begin to notice that our physical body is crying out to us and saying we need rest, we need nourishment, we need more water,
we need play.
Yeah, we need play, we need joy, we need nature, and I think it's important, as we make these shifts from an energetic standpoint, that we have to allow our physical body to catch up with that, and we have to listen to it, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times, we're programmed to not stop, but really as human beings, we're meant to rest too. Just like plants go through, a really intense growing phase, they also have resting phases. And I think we all need to give ourselves a little bit more grace when we're going through those, to not be like, oh, I need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, you've got to just take it easy, because we are shifting, quantumly, like you said. It's not just like a little shift here or there. Like, these are the big, massive leaps that we're taking in order to get everything lined up for the next big thing, right?
Absolutely. And I noticed too, when I moved, I began to attract different types of people into my life as well. It was almost like I started to meet my, soul family, so to speak. So it took some time because I had to go through that shift and I had to get my body up to speed because I was just too exhausted to be able to move forward, in that energy. But it did take, at least 6 months for that to start happening. But once I did, it was like all these synchronicities started to come into play. Did you feel that experience as well? Or have you gotten to that experience yet?
Yeah, you know what? It's been one of my hardest things, just because, coming from a place where I knew lots of people, and here I still don't know like a whole lot of people. And so that's what I've been waiting for, is that next chapter, that's next step. And as far as like calling in my soul family, like I know so many beautiful people across the world, like through online interactions, and that's been so healing for me. But the physicality of having that, I do not have yet, but I feel it's coming. And it's knowing how Feng Shui works and like the cycles that it goes through, that makes me comforted to know, like, I'm not missing out on anything. Everybody that I meant to meet up with, we'll get there. I'm just not ready for that yet. And so I'm just like, oh, okay, then it will happen in the right timing for sure. But
you're right. It will all happen in divine timing. And when it happens, it kind of sneaks up on you a little bit. It's like someone will just reach out and, hey, you want to grab a coffee? And then the next thing you know, you're just, how do I know you? I feel like I've known you before. There's just that deep soul.
Oh, that connection. Isn't that the best to get from someone? It's Yeah. I have a few friends that I met through some ceremonies that I did that it's just like we're instant like best buds and that we've known each other for lifetimes. It's like cool. I dig this.
And I feel that because you feel it in your soul, when you connect it. It's when you meet your members of your soul family, it's like you look at each other and it's almost like in your mind, you're trying to figure out, where have I met you in the physical?
Uh-huh.
But on a soul level, this embodiment of this person, their consciousness, their soul. And it really is amazing because that's the direction that we are moving as we expand our consciousness, as we raise our vibration. We will begin to connect with people from the heart. And it's confusing for us living in this third dimensional reality because we've always been taught to use our mind. And when you connect with people now, it is a very different experience because it can they can, especially being an intuitive empath, and I'm sure you can relate to this, when you meet people in your soul family, you can kind of sense where their blockages and they can sense where your blockages are. And it's like this weird harmonization that happens. I don't know how to explain it, but that's been my experience. And it's a beautiful thing at first though, because we're so used to being guarded or closed off with our hearts that when you meet members of your soul family, it's just this very heart expanding and heart opening experience that we aren't always so used to living in the 3D reality.
Exactly. And I tell myself all the time, I'm like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's actually like such like people appreciate it. And I think we're just scared that, well, I don't know, that we'll get made fun of or something, but really people appreciate it. I know I do when someone comes to me and like allows me to see them who they are in the raw. And I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. That's such a gift.
It is. And I love that experience. And it's like, I think a lot of us have been programmed since childhood to expect to be picked on or bullied or, pointed fingers at for being unique or being different or speaking your truth or showing your genuine, authentic self. And as adults, we're learning to strip away, those layers, beginning to unlearn the matrix programming, so to speak.
It's true. It's true. I tell my daughter all the time, she's 11, and she will come to me and she's like, Mom, all the kids think I'm weird. I'm like, good. I'm like, we need more weird people in this world. Welcome.
Let's make the weird normal again.
Yeah. I always say,
normalize.
bring your weird. Let's do this.
And the reality is we aren't weird. This is who we are at the core.
Right.
Born into a society or a system that has taught us otherwise. And we are beginning to strip away those layers, like an onion, of finding
a very fine onion.
What?
Yeah, I said sometimes it feels like a very fine onion. I'm like, I swear I've ripped off more layers than this.
You're probably right. And there's times when you rip off a chunk and you're like, oh, that felt really good. And then there's a little tiny piece and you're like, oh.
Just a little sheath. Oh, come on.
But, I think I wanted to talk about this topic because I know it's not just you and I who are going, through this transition, who are going through this shift. And as the energies are coming in more powerfully, with the overabundant amount of solar energy, that is coming into the planet right now, we are, being blasted with this energy to cleanse us, to sift us, to bring all that, rubbish, debris, so to speak, to the surface to be healed and to be let go, that trauma, that programming.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so beautiful, is because you have the yang of the sun and the yin of rest and moon working together in secret. Like that's how it should be. I get that we still live in the 3D, we still have pay bills, we still have to do dishes, etc., right? But the thing is, when you give, it's like this dance where it's like I spent most of today in the sun and it's been so energizing and healing. Oh,
it rained here all day.
Oh,
but
shoot.
It felt cleansing and purifying.
That's perfect because it's Aquarius season, and that's what we're here for, is to cleanse and to purify, to bring us to the new moon here coming up in the next couple of days. So absolutely, like we're getting exactly what we need, right?
So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So the new moon is coming up, and I know that you kind of follow this stuff probably a little bit more than I do. And I'm familiar with when there's a new moon and when there's a full moon. And honestly, I have been doing parasite cleanses around the full moon because I had learned that that's when they have a tendency to come out or be more active within the body. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the new moon and how it affects our energy, and bringing that to the surface and how we can utilize those energies to, help us.
Absolutely. Actually, learning about the moon has been one of my side hobbies right now, and I absolutely am loving it. Like down to where like there are better days to get a haircut other than others. Like that's how deep it goes. And I'm like,
love it.
Let me know all the things. Like it's amazing. The cycles, it's all it is, I think, is knowing how to read maps and time. Like this map behind me, it's a moon calendar. Oh shoot, it's by the moonphasestudio.com. But it's a big tapestry of time. And the way that I even forgot the question, Tanya, because I got so wrapped up in my moon spiel.
It was just how can we utilize the new moon energies that are coming up?
Oh my goodness, I got so enthralled with it. Sorry guys. My apologies. But new moon energy.
You did a timeline shift there for a minute.
Oh my goodness, right? Did you see that blank look that went on my face?
It happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I'm here. Oh shoot. So the new moon is all about setting your intentions, planting your seeds, and really taking the time to just, I guess if I could say it would be like a season, it would be like springtime, right? And then, you go through the first quarter and the full moon, and that's where, you're receiving your abundance. That's when everything kind of like comes to fruition, right? And then you go back into, the harvest time. And that's where we're at right now. I believe the new moon is on the 3rd.
A few days.
Yeah, it's coming up. And so right now it's all about kind of bringing up, okay, kind of like, what's the word? Like a reflection, a time to reflect on, the last few weeks, what's working for me, what could be, wrapped up, what can we get done, before this next shift, again. So it's all a beautiful way to start living your life. I mean, that's what my intention is to start living more cyclically.
That's pretty powerful that it's on 3-3. So that 3-3 portal, which is a very powerful number in itself, the trilogy, the trine, the number 3 pyramid, there's so many correlations with the 3. So let's move a little bit into Feng Shui. So, I think this is, I was, sharing with you before we started recording that I think intuitively I've picked up on this. I probably could have been a Feng Shui master or teacher in a past life. I don't really know, but I do love, being able to sense and feel the energy in the room. And I do feel like that's a power that empaths have, that we can pick up when we walk into a place. We can feel the energy of, is it dense? Is it light? Is there tension in this room?
Is this mine?
Is this mine? Is it someone else's? Do I need to cleanse it?
Yeah.
What is Feng Shui? Can you explain to us a little bit what Feng Shui is?
Absolutely. And I've been trying to I feel like the past answers that I've given people have left them a little bit more confused than when they started asking. So, but it's really simple in terms of, it's just a way to alchemize the energy, changing something that's a little bit heavier, a little bit denser into something that is more pleasing or more lighter or more beautiful, right? And so it's just all about allowing the chi, the natural chi of the earth, to just flow and have this, dance with giving and receiving. And it's
the way we should all be living our lives,
absolutely.
And the word alchemy, meaning to transmute or transcend or shift, I think is a very powerful term, you know, not only in shifting our space, but shifting our own energy as well, our own thoughts. We can alchemize our own thoughts. We can alchemize, there's so many things that we can alchemize. And, you know, when you're looking at your space, it's important to understand that it's all energy and knowing how to work with it.
I mean, you wouldn't go up to house and, you know that, right? Like you have the power to change the way that, you know, you live in your home. I mean, everybody, you know, has their own space, right? But to be able to utilize it in a way that is actually working for you instead of against you, like that can make all the difference. I mean, why wouldn't you want that, right?
Exactly. We all want that, right?
I don't know about you, but I'm done being on the struggle bus. So
I let the struggle bus go a long time ago. I'm on the bus of prosperity and health and abundance and joy and bliss.
Well, excellent. We're in the right spot then.
So what are some tools or tips that you can share that you learned with the viewers or the listeners about Feng Shui? What are some things that we can do in our homes or in our vehicles or wherever we can utilize Feng Shui that can make it more peaceful and more balanced?
Oh, excellent. I love this topic. So really you can have it be as big as like Feng Shuiing your whole house, or you can have it as small as, like you said, Feng Shuiing your car or your desk at work or your purse even, right? But it's all about understand. I think really, and we talked about this a little bit before we got on, is I think the biggest thing that people hang on to the most is clutter. Mm-hmm. Like we kind of say around the Feng Shui community, like clutter is a killer, just because it is a chi killer. Like that's where stagnant chi starts to hang out, and then it becomes heavy and dense, and then it becomes really suffocating. And I think that so often we get comfortable with, you know, having that pile there forever. I've been guilty of having piles too, so don't feel bad. Everybody has them. But I think little by little, once people understand how much it does affect them, like nobody would have any clutter at all ever.
Yeah, it's like if you could see
I don't know about you
around the clutter, it would probably be very helpful. Like that darker, stagnant energy around it.
It's true. It's true. And in fact, in my other home, we had all of our books at the top of the stairs. So as soon as you walked up, I just had like the kids' bookshelf with all of theirs in a nice little cubby. And then I had just stacks and stacks and stacks of my books. And I had it there for, it was like months, at least 6+ months. And I actually took a home energy course back in, I don't remember, 2018, I believe. And it finally dawned on me during that class. I'm like, that is killing my, you know, my ingenuity, my creativity. And it's like slowing me down, because that's the first thing that I see every time. And you don't know it consciously, but it starts to weigh on you more and more the more that you see it, because it's just like, oh, there's that darn pile again. Oh, somebody should clean that up. Oh, I really need to, you know what I mean? And so I think a lot of times people don't know what that next step is once they acknowledge and are aware of the clutter.
Yeah. And it's like a cluttered space is a cluttered mind, right? So
Absolutely.
It's like when you're like, we talked about the macrocosm and the microcosm, the as within, so without. So it's like, if, you know, outside of you is in chaos and in clutter, then, you know, the inside of you is probably in that as well.
Absolutely.
So shifting your internal, you know, reality, shifting your internal energy will also shift the external, vice versa. Shifting your external will also shift the internal as well. And it's because it's all energy and it's all connected.
Yes. Your home is the direct mirror of you.
Yes. Yeah. So are there some arrangements that are important, you know, to have for Feng Shui? Are there some items that, you know, help with cleansing energy?
Okay. Yes. So we'll start with the 3 most important rooms in a home are your kitchen, your bedroom, and Oh shoot, I just so we'll just talk about the kitchen and your bedroom because those are
Everyone will come.
and like your living space area, right? Because all of the rooms that you spend the most time in. And so you want to pay particularly just start to pay attention to like little things that might come up for you that kind of bug you about the space. Having your bed in command is very important. And what that means is position your bed in a way that you can see, who's coming through the door.
Okay.
It's kind of like a reassurance thing. Not to your back. That's whenever I go to a hotel room that has the bed, as you walk in and it's the feet are facing out, I'm like, that's very bad feng shui. But it's also probably the only way that they could do that. But there's even a remedy for that. So there's no situation, there's no obstruction, there's nothing that you can't basically feng shui, right? There's always something that can help enhance or help, take away energy. So it's a really beautiful thing.
So what about mirrors? Is there anything with mirrors or fun,
There's so many things with mirrors. You can make them expand a room, enhance something. You can also use it as a portal, which is kind of fun to use. So there's a lot of different things. And before you go hanging up mirrors here and there, it is good to get some guidance. I know a lot of people go to, Google, and there's so many answers to that. And so you really need to be able to discern, information that you get out there. But all in all, it comes down to your intuition, yes, but your intention behind what you're doing. It's not just, I'm just going to throw a mirror here because it's supposed to do X, Y, and Z. If you're going to put, take the time to hang something up or, make a change, it's amazing how much more powerful and potent it becomes with your intention into it. And I know from personal experience, just in the last little bit that I've been, playing with it, with every little thing that I've, put an intention into, is just like, I don't know, it just seems like this powerful orb of energy that just, is just there. And I don't know how else to describe it, because I'm a feeler, and to like tell you in English what that means is sometimes really difficult for me. But I just feel it almost speak to me like, hey, I'm here to help you out. You got this, kind of a thing.
And I can resonate with that because I'm the same way. I would go into my friends' homes and I would be like, do you mind if I rearrange a little bit? I just feel like this is blocked. I feel like the way you have this set up is a little restricting. And they're like, sure, go to town, and then I'm like moving things around and they're like, whoa, that was like Tetris. I don't know what you just did. But I think as empaths, some of us do have that spatial organization gift. And I think you have that. I have that.
I've had it since I was really little. And that's something that I did all the time as a kid. I would go rearrange the couch and yeah.
And it just feels better. It feels more open. It feels more spacious. And I've always been that way. I can move stuff around and I'm just like, it's just little things though. It doesn't even have to be big things like bringing in a plant, bringing a plant in the room and providing oxygen, or so many plants are so cleansing, to the air, bringing in a Himalayan salt lamp, just to bring in some good ions into the room, simple things. I know you and I both like crystals. And crystals are super powerful when we set intentions with them, and they're programmable. There's a reason why there's clear quartz crystals in all of our technology. It's because it's programmable. And I, often will tell people some of the best crystals that you can have in your home are shungite. Shungite is a black crystal that is mined in Karelia, Russia, and it actually will transmute any negative electromagnetic frequencies that could be being picked up from your routers, from your, your computers, your phones, all of that stuff. Clear quartz crystals are amazing. They're beautiful, and you can reprogram them to however you want, them to cleanse your space. Do you have other examples of ways that you cleanse your space or you clear the energy in the room?
Yes, and like we were just speaking about the black shungite, I have to wear black around my wrist because if I have too much technology for too long, my hands begin to hurt. It, yeah, it just it doesn't burn, but it's a similar sensation like that. And so I always make sure, and it's really interesting. I was over at, with family this weekend, and I was going to bed, and it's like, you need to charge your your bracelets. And so something that's a really quick go-to is everybody has salt, right?
Yes.
So I just put them all in a little dish of salt, and I cleansed them overnight, and it was good. It was fine. And of course, it's not anything negative towards my family. It's just there's a lot going on.
You absorb
I absorb a lot of it, and yep. And I could feel it when I got home. I was like, oh my goodness, like you could I felt like I was caked in dried mud.
I always say pig pen. We look like pig pen walking around with a big dirty, after we've been around energy that we've transmuted.
But I love crystals. I love crystal energy. I love that there are certain crystals that correlate with certain guas or different areas of your home or not. I mean, like you said, everything is programmable. Like I have some rocks that are just from the woods that I'm just like, I love you. You're coming with me. And so really it's about starting to pay attention what you're drawn to. I love candles. I love having a lot of light. Like I've got the twinkle lights incorporated here, and just adding more vibrance to your space, because literally having light in your home creates a lighter environment, right? It's really easy. And like you said, the salt lamps, anything that you can do to kind of help transmute that energies when you need something that's kind of more heavier duty as far as space clearing goes. I highly recommend Palo Santo as a cleanser. I mean, that one's pretty powerful, and I'm just learning more about sage and the different things that you can use to space clear. And there's a lot of depth in using sage. There's a lot of sacredness that I think has been lost. And so I'm really excited to dig a little bit deeper in that realm to understand it better, because there's nothing that I would dread more is to go into something and not being respectful of what its intention is for, you know what I mean? And so I think becoming more aware about what the tools that you have and learning like where they're coming from, and because there's I don't think there's ever a good or bad. It's just being aware of maybe what is better as far as like getting them ethically sourced. But again, it's all in what you make it, kind of a thing. But I don't know, incense. I love incense. My kids are eating or even lighting their own incense in their rooms, carefully, of course. but I feel like it's important to teach your kids, these tools too, because even my little 3-year-old, no, she's 4, my 4-year-old, to be like, she'll bring the sage and she's like, can you sage me? And so they're already learning.
They are. And if you're an empath, odds are your children are empaths too.
All 4 of them. And they're
probably more sensitive.
Super sensitive. I mean, we've even gone so far as like, teaching them how to do oracle cards and oracle card pulls. And there's so many great things out there that are coming more available and are more, it's less, taboo. And so it's been really exciting to.
It is. And I love sage. I love all varieties. And even essential oils. I think we should not overlook those as well.
Yes.
Gosh, those are amazing mood enhancers. They help you sleep. They cleanse your space. I love Palo Santo essential oil. If I can't burn sage, if I can't burn Palo Santo, I will use frankincense. There's a reason why they gave frankincense, myrrh, and spikenard to Jesus. It was, those are the 3 highest vibrational crystal or essential oils other than rose. So using those in your diffuser, I use those in my car. I have like a traveling spa in my car.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
I've got a little oil diffuser in my car that plugs right into my, my USB, and I'll put sage in there, sage essential oil. So the moment I'm in and out of, errands or wherever I'm off, doing, I'm getting saged in my vehicle. I've got my nice music on. I've got my crystals hanging from my, rear view. It's just,
You're all set.
My friends get in there and they're like,
the light worker mobile. I love it.
Like I'm in a spa. Like, oh, I'm just doing some grid work while I'm driving around.
I mean, you're just being very efficient. I love it.
But when I worked in the hospital, I felt heavy, when I would come out, and I was just, what are some ways? I had like a 45-minute drive home. So I'm like, what are some ways that I can decompress on my way home? And having an oil diffuser in there. And I never really do lavender when I'm driving. I feel like that's just too much for me. I have to have a grapefruit or a lemon or something. Right there. But yeah, so I would always make sure it was an uplifting one, especially when I would leave work late at night. I needed something in there that would keep me awake on the way home. So
absolutely.
I think too, it's important to talk about sound, sound.
Oh, I can tell you of like amazing things about sound. I have a dear friend in Boise that does sound baths, and I would go to her sound bath meditations every full moon or new moon, whenever she had them. And they are amazing. And I would even drag my husband, and he's like, after the first one, he's like, I don't know what just happened, but that was amazing. I want to come again. And so I was like,
that's awesome.
I got the biggest skeptic in the world to be hooked on this. I love it. But I love it. Even putting on, there'll be sometimes where there'll be a little tension going on between the siblings, right? And just putting on some calm music, and like I do whatever frequencies on
like the 528 hertz or the solfeggios.
The solfeggios, which
actually I'm playing in the background right now, so it's like the audience may not hear it, but I can hear it, and it kind of sets the tone.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think.
I don't know if you notice it with your pets or not, but when I put it on, like if my cat is just crazy and running around and I put that 528 hertz, it's like a tranquilizer.
Oh my goodness. My bulldog goes down and he's just snoring. He's sawing logs.
So they do work. Absolutely.
Absolutely. There is one thing that popped into my brain just now when you were talking about sound. And we were also talking about how to kind of start to break up that energy that's stagnant or stale in a room. Rattles or bells, even clapping in corners that feel extra heavy or dense. I mean,
sound
these
bowls.
are
Yep, you can use sound bowls. My sister has a little sound bowl. Tuning forks, if you have tuning forks. Yeah, and even on the cleansing aspect too, we didn't talk about dragon's blood. Dragon's blood. So there's like a tiering. The way I look at it, you've got white sage, Palo Santo, and then when you want to get rid of the big dogs, like, if you have a really heavy energy space, bring in some dragon's blood, and you can buy that in an incense or like an actual sage stick. And I don't know if they sell that in an essential oil or not. I've never really looked into it, but it would be.
I don't know about that either.
I primarily sage with dragon's blood now. I don't know why. I love the smell of Palo Santo, and I use that occasionally, but if I'm feeling dense energy, I'm bringing out, dragon.
That, yeah, absolutely. And, Tanya, I don't think we've talked about this before, but in my other house, like we had to deal with some really heavy, deep, dark stuff.
Really?
And yes. And I mean, here's me and my husband, we're kind of like this average looking couple, and we're going into like this super duper like hippie esoteric shop, and we look like we're out of place, right? But the folks there were absolutely amazing, and they know what they're doing as far as like knowing how to dispel some really deep dark stuff. And I can tell you with 100% surety, like that ghost is gone, like, or whatever it was. But
energy.
I mean,
we can pick it up from the land too. It might not just be in your house. It could be on the land.
The land that you are that you're on is more important, hands down. That's like the first 100%. Thing that you need to look at, what's going on, because there's so much land on this earth that has so much history. A lot of it hasn't always been super happy and bright.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to be acknowledged, because there are some really, there's just some things that are out of our hands a lot of times. But know that there are people that have the tools in order to transmute that. Like, that's some heavy duty lifting, but absolutely.
It is. And I was reading that in some countries, before they purchase a home, they'll actually get a black cat, they'll have a cat, or a cat, doesn't have to be a black cat, but a cat, and they will let the cat into the home. And if the cat seems comfortable, then they will know that the energy is cleansed. And if the cat seems to take off and, freak out or leave, then they know they need to do something, with clearing that space, because cats are super intuitive, and they are like little empaths, little,
they really are. Cats are amazing animals. And I mean, how amazing they are, but
yeah. So it's like, I think too, I don't know if you're on this, at this level yet, but I last summer was activated in my light language. I had a remembrance in my light language. And so I can actually go into spaces and rooms and speak light language, and light language will raise the vibration in the space as well. So I, oftentimes will work with some of my other light worker friends who have remembered their ancient language, and we can speak it together. And it's been amazing at how we've been able to shift the land. We had one situation where we, cleansed the land, and a rainbow appeared in the sky there was no rain, there was no nothing, and a rainbow just appeared in the blue sky. And it was almost like the universe, giving us that validation or that sign that you have cleared the land. And I'll probably do a podcast on grid work, because I think many of us as light workers are being guided to certain sacred sites. We're being guided to certain areas, ley lines, so to speak, and wonders of the world. A lot of different places we're being guided to receive our own cleansing, our own remembrances, our own downloads, our own activations, whatever you want to call them. And that's where we are meeting one another as well. And it was funny, because during 2020, everyone was in lockdown, and I was like a traveling maniac. I was in my car with my cat. I went to Glacier National Park, Crater Lake, Mount Shasta. I was all over the place, Yellowstone. And I think a lot of it was because I was cleansing the space. As I was, driving about, I was noticing that, it was in dense areas. There were some super heavy areas. And then as I would go through there, I would kind of set an intention and clear the land. And I noticed, it was really strange, because what I noticed as I talked to several of my friends, within 2 or 3 weeks, all of us had gone through there without even realizing we had gone through the same areas. So there was a divine guidance system that was happening during the summer of 2020, for sure, at least up here in the Pacific Northwest area. So it was really neat. So I think, when we look at our space, we've also got to look at the land as well, and look at objects. I know, that I've had this situation where some friends have said, Tanya, can you come over and clear the energy in my space? I'm seeing a shadow being, or I'm sensing an energy, and I'll go over there, and I immediately can figure out it's your grandfather's gun from the Civil War. And I'm like, have you ever cleansed this object? No, what's cleansing,
Yeah, absolutely. Predecessor chi is a real thing. I've heard some really crazy stories, and I'm sure if I thought hard enough, I could think of one myself. But it's a really important, especially I like shopping secondhand. I think it's super fun, and I love how all the cool vintage stuff is, coming back in style again. But you got to realize that, somebody's energy has been imprinted on that object, and it's a very, very, very good idea to, you can even just as simple as blessing some water and flicking some water on it, or, getting a squirt bottle, just setting the intention to cleanse it. You can cleanse it with smoke, you can cleanse it with crystals, you can set, essential oils, you name it. It's really not difficult. I think we make it hard and be like, I don't know how to do it. It's just like, pick something up and
Yeah,
figure it
you
out.
do it. It's whatever your, energy goes where your attention flows, right?
Yep.
So it's like, it's whatever you're being guided to do. And I think as empaths, we have to tune into that inner GPS, that inner guidance system that
Absolutely.
is telling you, hey, do this. Hey, go here. Hey, feel this. Hey, this is not yours, and
We all have that
we do.
inside of, absolutely. We all have that like inner feng shui-ness, I feel like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like that essence.
And our society keeps us distracted from it. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, look at this squirrel. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at that.
I'm usually the one
There's
like,
so much
oh, oh
distraction.
yeah.
You're like,
Ah, do I look? Do I not look?
it's hard to
It's
listen.
hard.
It's hard to listen.
It
Mine's
is.
getting louder. I mean, I have a loud voice anyway. You can tell. I apologize if my voice is louder than Ashley's in this video. I'm really working on that to get it.
We love it, Tanya.
That's
It's
my
okay.
strongest chakra. So yeah, so just cleansing the space, cleansing the land. And, when you move into, if you are a light worker who is being guided to another place, make sure that you cleanse that space before you move into it. However you feel
Absolutely.
guided to do so. And because you're releasing the energy of the old, the person who was living in there before, the older resident. And
Absolutely.
now you're creating a new template, a new program, a new energy, for you and your family to move into.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. How you said a new template, a new reprogramming it. And I think that's super, super, super accurate. And I had a thought of what you just said. Hopefully it will come back to me, but it was, oh shoot, what did we just ended with? What were we, sorry, what were we just talking about?
We were talking about the when you cleanse your space in your new home, like when you move into your new home.
Yes, and I had something around that, and now it just, okay, maybe it will come back to me.
So you can also bury selenite around your home. I have
Yes,
never done that myself, but I have heard of people doing that. And I'm big into orgone energy. So organite is like, I've got one right here. I can show everybody. You can even see it. But
oh, I love that. I have that one too.
organite. So you've got your tiering of this one has shungite, selenite, and then your copper shavings in there, and it has a copper coil with a clear quartz in there. So this is organite energy is super powerful at cleansing space. It can amplify things. So if you're setting an intention, it can amplify. Research orgone energy. I believe it's William Reich. I believe he's the one who started orgone energy, but you'd have to look it up and go down that rabbit hole. It's really interesting. But I have pucks that look like hockey pucks, and I've got them around, my routers, all that kind of stuff. But that will also clear the space really easily, and you can put those outside. So it's important if you have a smart meter, on the outside of your home, that you don't want your bed or, something up against that, because it's putting off a lot of electromagnetic frequencies, and the person who's in that room may notice that. They may notice. So you can use an orgone, a puck, and put it on the outside of the smart meter. And what it really does is it alchemizes, right? It will transmute that energy into a more positive, cleansing energy versus a draining energy.
Yes, and thank you. You reminded me of what I was going to say is when you are, clearing, when you are doing grid work, when you are working with these really dense energies, be sure to pull, your energies in so you're not using your own, make sure that you've, call in, your guides, your angels, whoever you resonate with, as far as like kind of bulking up that energy source, because don't think that you alone can do all that. And I know for me, that's one of the things that we're taught pretty extensively is your job isn't to like, give away your own energy. You're just a vessel. And so to be sure to protect your energy and call in, we call it borrowing the Buddhist chi.
Borrowing the Buddhist chi. I like that.
It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful meditation. But that's one thing that I wanted to make sure that everybody remembers to do, like even when you're clearing spaces, if you're doing a big space clearing for your whole entire home, like there is a process to it. But that is one thing that we make sure that that's the first on our list is
yeah. And it's however you feel comfortable
it.
doing that, whether it be your guides, your archangels. Archangel Michael's a very powerful one. He's my man. He's with me all the time.
Big Mike's with me too. I love Big Mike.
Him a lot. I love him, but and I always visualize him with his sword. I even have his wings on my car. When I get in my car, I just have a beautiful layer of protective energy around me, like, kind of like a a bouncy ball that people just bounce off. It's funny. I was pulling out of here one day and it was icy and I stopped and this lady, she couldn't stop. She was hitting the ice and she was gonna bam. Somehow it just like she stopped right there. I'm like, that's Archangel Michael. He was stepping in.
He was just like, not today.
It reminds me of Edward on Twilight when he saves Bella when the truck is coming at it's like, that's my man. But however you feel comfortable calling in that source energy, that creator energy, that that higher self energy, whatever you want to call it, because we have an abundance of energy when we call in that outer power, or that inner power.
Yes, and also afterwards take a salt bath, get all that off. I know that sometimes even by washing my hands after I've, whatever, like it's been not just because, of the whole germ thing that's been going on, but it's an energetic thing too. Like I can feel it. I'm always like, I ask my kids, I'm like, did you wash your hands? And I can tell. I mean, I'm sure anybody can, but it's just like, I can like, even before they like whip them out to show me, I'm like, I can already tell that they are not glingo. Then like, they can't get anything past me.
And that's a good point, because I do that. I wash my hands after every client, and it's not just, I work remotely. It's to, disconnect. And
disconnect.
You can use that muscle testing if you're familiar with, muscle testing to, am I disconnected? Yes. Okay. I'm disconnected. And you can call your power back into your body, 100%. And I think these are ways we are powerful batteries, just the human body itself. And when we're expanding our own light body and our own aura, we can cleanse the room. I know when my aura it's funny. I just laugh because I know when my light body and my aura is strong, it's like I'm either really magnetizing or I'm really repelling people. Like it's just
I feel that too when I go to stores, and it's just kind of funny how some people will like go way around me and I'm like, okay. Awesome. And then other times I'll have people like right up against me, and I'm, it's like, I'm happy to share my energy.
They're like a cat, like purring on your robe.
They're there.
I had someone tell me that. I just love your energy. I'm going to rub on you like a cat. I'm like, okay, like whatever you got to do.
If you want, might be a little awkward.
I'm not taking it for you.
Yes. No, please. I know every time I go to Target, it's just like, okay, I'm ready for this. But it's, it's empowering too, that you're helping in such a small, maybe minuscule way, but even to just brighten a little bit of some, have a little ray of sunshine in somebody else's day. Like I try to, wear a happy face and smile at even the grumpiest of people. Those are the fun people to smile at, because they're just like,
well,
just like, I just made your day a little bit somewhere.
And it's so important. I think, as light workers, as way showers, whatever you want to, resonate with, empath, whatever you resonate with, it's important that we do. We're holding our frequency at this time, and there's so much chaos, in the world right now, that if we can find our own sense of stability, our own sense of grounding, however that may be, it can really enhance our own energy. And I think that starts with our living space. I think we need to make that a sanctuary. And if you can't do your entire home, like you said, pick a room. And I think for me personally, my bedroom is the most important space, because that's where you rest. That's where you recharge. And I've got an oil diffuser, next to my bed. I use my lavender CBD oil, in it. And I play music at night too. I play the solfeggio frequencies very faintly at night. And I've got different crystals next to my bed, amethyst, rose quartz.
That's a great one.
Yeah, all the sleepy blue calcite, all the ones that help with sleep. And I tell you, the moment I hit that pillow, it's like I'm gone. I'm out of there. I always joke, I'm in the astral, it's like I'm like
I'm out. Yeah, I've got amethyst by my bed too, and my husband will always be like, "Oh, I didn't sleep well last night." I'm like, "I slept like a baby." Like,
and put him under his pillow too. I mean, I have done that before. I sleep. Oh my gosh, I probably have like 12 crystals under my pillow. I'm like this crazy.
I love it, Tanya.
I muscle test them though. I will intuitively pick, okay, what do I need tonight? So there's times I have 2 and then there's times I have 12. Lately with all this energy, the solar energy, I've had more. And that's not even mentioning what I have on my nightstand, so it's funny when people come into my place, they're like, my ears are ringing. I feel like I'm buzzing. I'm like, oh yeah, your frequency just amped right up. But I can feel it when I leave.
I love that. Yeah, I love, and there's nothing to me. I've been in several homes where it has that energy, that just calm, peaceful, just really cozy energy that I'm like, what can I do to stay longer here? Because it feels so good. And I knew by that, like, that's what I wanted to create for myself. How do I create that for myself? The internet is a beautiful tool. There's so many beautiful courses on there with so many different people sharing their light and their talents. And so I encourage all of you to start digging into, this stuff. If you don't know a lot about a topic, start diving into it. And a lot of times you're going to be enraptured with all of the information that's out there that it's hard to stop.
It is. And it'll drive you, if you're excited about it, it'll drive you towards those passions. And, I think for me, I've always loved to decorate. I've always loved to create a tranquil, calming space. I know one tool that I didn't share is that if you have a selenite wand, to put it above the door frame in your front door. So when people are walking in and out, they're getting cleansed, and just make sure it's securely up there, that it's not going to fall down or anything. But that's an amazing, tool just to have. I've actually had, this is funny. When I placed mine above my door, I've had like like if someone comes UPS or, something to drop off, they won't even cross the threshold. It's really weird. It's really funny. Or I've had other ones that are like I had a maintenance man come one time, and he just wanted to sit on my couch and just hang out. He's like, I am loving this vibe in here. So it is funny. You can sense when people are holding a denser energy or a lighter energy. And when you begin to create that space for yourself, you will notice people may shift in and out, or they could transmute energies and bring stuff to the surface. Like if you have a guest over and then they start getting rattled or frustrated, or they start crying, or things are happening, and you're like, oh, are you okay? I just don't understand. Like, I feel this need to just release. And a lot of it could be with a space, that you have created this really cleansing, purifying space for yourself,
safe space
that you've harmonized with. But when you have guests over, they're like, whoa, this is really new.
Well, and what a beautiful thing, but to not only hold space for people inside, but also, on a personal level, that's a really beautiful thing. And I think that is just a reflection of the beautiful person that you are, Tanya. Like, your home, I want to go be there right now. It sounds so amazing.
Hey, right back at you.
I've got a little bit more work to do with this house. Our house is almost 4,000 square feet. And I tell my husband, I'm like, what were we thinking? Like, we love having our own little spaces, but I mean, in terms of
tough when it's that
providing
big. I used to have a home that was that large, and it is, you've got to not overwhelm yourself, and to just start with one room at a time, and what room you feel is the most important to start with, and then
my bathroom.
Not beat yourself up about it.
No, and don't feel bad about it. And can I just say one thing about that? I know a lot of people, especially mamas out there, that always put their kids first and do everything for their kids. I have started to do that, and I'm pulling myself back and be like, wait a minute. Mama needs her spa sanctuary in the bathroom first. And so that's actually hopefully going down in the next little bit. If you're interested in following along, you can follow me on Instagram, because I intend to share all of my progress through this house, because I've made a ton of blunders. I've done all the things that you're not supposed to do, even though I know not to do them, not only like on a, empathetic level, but it's like the feng shui rules. It's just like, so I've broken all the rules for you guys. So if you want to, learn some more tools, definitely.
So in feng shui, did they teach you certain ways to rearrange your home in a way that would bring abundance and prosperity into your life? Like, is there any good tips or tools that you can share with us?
I know everybody's like, where can we get the money?
Where can we get more abundance? And abundance can look like anything, right?
Yeah, and that's something that you need to be specific on when you're setting intentions, because they keep sending you junk mail. You're getting an abundance of junk mail. And I've actually programmed my mailbox to not do that anymore.
That's amazing.
And, I mean, there's a lot of days where I don't get any email, and I'm like, well, but at least it's not, like cluttering up my mind. So I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. But yeah, everybody goes to abundance, but there is, there's abundance of love. I think your most important part is the center, which is Tai Chi, or the middle of your home.
Okay.
Because that is where it starts. Mm-hmm. And each, so in the Bagua mat, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they're 9 squares. The middle one is Tai Chi. It's not technically a gua, but it's the hub, right? And it touches each one of the other areas and connects them all together. And so for me, that's my entryway. So I try to have it, no shoes gathered around. And I've got candles, I've got incense, I've got plants to create that first initial, like, because, that where your front door is, where you go in, that's the mouth of chi. That's where all the energy is coming in. You don't want it to like come in. And it's not necessarily like how it's designed, but it's the way that it feels, what makes it feel like home to you. What brings that essence that just makes you feel like, I'm home. You know what I mean? I know that everybody knows that feeling, and it takes a little bit to kind of curate just the perfect amount of this and that to make it you. But that's part of the fun. That's part of the journey, right? Is knowing what we like and what we don't like. And
the contrast.
The contrast. I know. I used to curse. I'm like, I know everything that I don't like. And then I saw a quote or something that's like, well, now you know what you don't like, so you can springboard
on what you do like.
I'm like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Okay. So it's like I tried all the crappy flavors of ice cream to reach like the one, and then it's just like, that's it.
That's it. So you don't just do feng shui, you actually are really good at organizing as well. And I do feel like organization is an important aspect of our energy too, because like I said, a cluttered external is a cluttered internal. So it's important to also have good organization tools as well. Are there any tips or techniques you'd like to share, with us?
Yes. I could go on forever, I'm sure, about this topic alone too. There is such a thing as being too organized. And I think it's just finding a really good happy medium. I've read like a ton of books, I've done the Marie Kondo thing, the minimalism books, which they're all fabulous. I really love them. I love the idea and the concept. And I think it's just finding that right balance of everything, right? And so it's, the porridge where it's not too hot, not too cold. It's just the perfect taste for that. But yeah, I like doing I like to lay everything out. I don't know if we have time for like an example of what I just did. So I had a bunch of stuff so we have a utility closet. And my whole dream was to just have all my cleaning supplies, kind of like my own little store, right? And, I got all the things, and it just got to the point where everybody was just shoving everything in. And I think it takes a minute to find out what works and what doesn't. So don't be afraid to take everything out, kind of sift through things. I always like to group things with like things, and then kind of put them in order of how they're used. So if it's something that you use a lot, that's where you want to put it, like mid shelf, so it's really easy to access. I have a lot of stuff in there that even my kids can help me with. So it's not, I'm always having to do, because they have no excuses, right? Because everything's, you just open the door and it's right there. So, and from there, that's when you can start knowing, oh, I need a container for this, and I need it to be, this size by this size. And instead of just getting really excited about a project and buying all the bins and totes and the, containers, to really be mindful of what you need. And then you don't have to deal with all of that extra, because even organizational stuff can get cluttery, right?
Of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's super important, because I think, especially when many of us are working from home now, there was a big shift, right? There was a big shift.
Huge shift.
When COVID hit, a lot of people started working from home. And I know I had done a video a while back about working from home and how to balance that energy out. And I think organization plays a key role in that, is being able, if you're trying to work and you have just nothing, you don't know where to grab things, or how to get to stuff, it can be very frustrating. And that's an energy drainer, right? It'll drain your energy very quickly.
It does. And that's something that really drains me too, is where I can't find something when I need it. And I understand, like, a lot of people have, their own setup as far as but just a couple tips up there is, if you do have to have your office in your bedroom, make sure you shut everything down, or, like you mentioned, the pucks, the organite, and all of that kind of protection, because that's a lot of extra energy that you don't need in that room, right?
Yes.
So you want something to kind of off gas that, or do weekly, clearings and smudgings or whatnot, to just kind of refresh that and keep that, that energy moving and happy, because
Absolutely.
Nobody wants a sad work area that bleeds into your bedroom.
It does. And I like I said, I feel like the bedroom is the sanctuary, that's your place of refuge, place of recharging. And just a simple thing too, when I listen to music, I put it on airplane mode, on my phone. So that way, I'm not getting the extra. Of course I have, you
have all the
protection going on, but
I love it.
Under my bed, but still that definitely, can help. And so there's so many layers to this. And I think we touched on a lot of really good topics, during this episode. And I feel that, if you are new to energy cleansing your space and yourself, your home, your vehicle, that this episode can give you some good tips, tools, and techniques on how to begin, how to even start.
Yes. I think that's the hardest part sometimes, is knowing where to start. So hopefully that was helpful to
and to follow your intuition. And to listen to your internal guidance on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Ashlie, if people want to reach out to you to have you help them, with their space, are you doing remote sessions with people to help them,
yes.
Over and then in the local area? So how do they connect with you? How can they learn more about what you're doing, and how, if they need help in this area?
Sure. So right now my main platform is Instagram, and my handle is Ashlie, and that's ASHLIE .darling, DARLING. And I'm working on a website. It is up, but I haven't fine-tuned it to make it all pretty and whatnot yet. So that is coming. But for right now, just hit me up on there, DM me, and we'll work something out. But yeah, I'm doing one in California right now, which I'm really excited about. So I mean, give me a house and all of the pretty shiny things, and I'll go to town and make your space good for you. So I'm really excited to get this rolling. So jazzed about it.
Well, thank you, Ashlie. I appreciate you coming on the show today. I think this was a really exciting topic, and I know we had, set an intention that it would flow where it needed to flow, and I think it was able to flow in a really good direction.
I think so too. Thank you so much for having me, Tanya.
You deserve to navigate your life as an empath in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT Tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.thesoulcafe.org.